All right. Good morning, afternoon, everybody. How are you? My name is Franny Lechak. I am a clinical but also the community dietitian for Conemaugh Memorial Medical Center. And I'm pleased to be here, and thanks to Joe and Barb and everybody and Morgan for inviting me to do this nutrition talk. I cooked for 40 years before I became a dietitian. So food is my love, whether it's going to the grocery store and buying stuff, whether it's making things, baking things, whatever. I just love food and I love working with it. And I also love sharing that with all of you, okay? Before the first class that I did, I had somebody call and say, Fran, could you start out with just showing us what do we need to do to eat healthfully? So, and that's why I stopped you guys from taking this. That's why I brought this. It's called Plan Your Plate. This is how your placemat should look when you sit down to eat. You should have some kind of dairy. You need some kind of fruit. You need half of your plate from non-starchy vegetables. You do need quarter of your plate starch. The other quarter's meat. You need a little bit of fat because that's what makes us, when we taste something, veggies with a little bit of margarine on it, veggies with a little bit of cheese sauce on it, really enhances the flavor. And it's that smooth feeling going down that's really tasty. And then there's free foods. Vinegar, lemon juice, lime juice, mustard, and water, of course. But anyways, when you sit down to eat, this is what it should look like. Now, if it's lunchtime, you look and you say, oh, I'm not going to do all this. Well, no, but you can have a glass of milk. You can have a piece of fruit. Your sandwich would be your starch, your meat, and have some extra veggies. Put lettuce and tomato on your sandwich. Take a little extra salad. Make some coleslaw. Make a fruited coleslaw. That's wonderful to do, because that way you combine all those things at one time. So I have one of these for everybody. So give it to the first person, and you can pass these around. Thank you very much. And one thing I forgot last time was, is anybody in here a diabetic? Okay. Do you need a carbohydrate counting sheet? Okay. These are really handy. Oh, sure. Okay. One side of this is carbohydrate counting, and what it's primarily telling you is the serving size for a carbohydrate. Now, if you're on a 1,500 calorie meal plan, which most women are on, you get 12 carbohydrate servings a day. That means 3 at each meal, and then you have those other 3 to play with the snacks. If you're a guy and you're on 1,800, then you have 14 carbohydrate servings a day, 4 at each meal, and the rest are your snacks. But I failed to bring that the last time. I had to mail a couple out, so I just thought if anybody needed, and please use it. Serving sizes, portion. I'd rather say a portion size, because if you say a serving size, what do we serve mashed potatoes in at dinner? What do we serve green beans in at dinner? You have them in a serving bowl. Is that the size of your portion? I don't think so. So a portion size is something that's absolutely measured out, okay? All right, now to the theme of the day. And I decided, after reading the papers, I normally get the Tribune Review every day and the Johnstown paper, and then the Pittsburgh papers on the weekend. And of course, you walk into my house at any time, you'll probably find the Food Channel on, because it's my favorite. I listen because, number one, I want to stay on top of what they're doing, and number two, I can get some good ideas. And sheet pan suppers are the big thing right now. Why? Number one, they're quick. Number two, they're easy, and you only have one thing to clean up, and that's the pan it's on. Although at the last class, one of the ladies said, if you lined that pan with aluminum foil, then you wouldn't even have that to clean up. And she was right, you wouldn't. But there are things about doing things right on a pan that to me make the most sense. So a sheet pan supper, what does that mean? It means we're going to take everything, we're going to slice it, dice it, and then we're going to put it on a pan, and we're not going to dirty anything else. This is a sheet pan. A sheet pan has a short lip on it. It's only no more than an inch deep. I was in TJ Maxx one day with my sister, and of course I always go through the pot and pan aisle and all that, and I'm looking and there's a cake pan, and it says on top, sheet pan. And I looked at Grace and I said, you know what? Why do people get confused at stuff like this? That's a cake pan, that's not a sheet pan. So, because if you put your sheet pan dinner in a cake pan, you're going to steam it. You're not going to actually, cook it in a hot oven and get it to brown better for you. Too much of the water is going to come out of it. So anyways, this is a sheet pan. This is a half sheet. A full sheet is really big, and we probably couldn't get it into our ovens at home. And then you have a quarter sheet. And a quarter sheet is good for if there's just 2 of you in the family, okay? But anyways, you need a sheet pan. You need a little bit of Pam, not a whole lot, just a little bit. Then you need a protein source. So whether you use chicken or you use fish or you use shrimp or beef or pork, whatever you like, that's going to be your protein. Put it on the pan. Then you're going to need some veggies. So carrots, celery. Carrots are a hard vegetable, just like a turnip or a parsnip. They're not going to exude a lot of water. So what you want to do is you want to cut these a little smaller to put them on that sheet pan than you would the celery. Why? The celery contains a lot of water. It's going to weep out quite readily. And then we need something to flavor it. What do? Onions. I love onions. Do you? And you can also put a little bit of garlic on here too. Just leave it in a little larger pieces because you don't want it to burn. A Vidalia onion will work really well in the sheet pan, the oven meals, because they're soft. If you take this Vidalia and you cut it and you dice it and you put it in your stew or you put it in a pot of soup, it's going to degrade on you because it's made to be eaten as is or just stir-fried. It's got a very fragile skin on it, so it sort of falls apart quite readily. But I like a Vidalia because in a sheet pan supper, it's going to cook quickly for you. If you make a shish kebab, anybody do shish kebabs? Okay, if you do a shish kebab, a Vidalia is good for that too. And that's why you have the different kinds of onions, cooking onions. You know, you can take one of these too and bake it. Take the top and the bottom off, skin it, and then make your, just like you'd see in a restaurant where they have the bloomin' onion, you can make your own. Anyways, take it, put it in a piece of aluminum foil, and then take a little bit of dressing, and normally I'll use some Italian dressing, pour it on, wrap it up, put it on your grill, let it cook while you're getting everything else together. And then you open it up and it's really neat. It's not breaded, so you don't have the extra carb. It doesn't have a ton of fat on it because it's not deep fried. So it really works out well. If you like some other dressing, you can use it. And then of course we need some starch. Who doesn't like a potato? I normally will use a baking potato. Number one, it doesn't have near the water content. Number two, when it bakes, baking potatoes cook fluffier. And you know, it was really funny. I used to go to a retreat every year for cooks and housekeepers, and it was I worked for the Catholic Church, and this one priest that gave this one retreat this one year stood up there and said, "How many of you ladies know how to make mashed potatoes?" Now you're talking to 40 women who cook for a living. So we all put our hands up, and he said, "How many of you bake your potato before you mash it?" And we're sitting there looking at him. He had been a cook before he became clergy. And he said, the best mashed potato is a baked potato. Now, when you're going to do mashed potatoes for a crowd, it's really cool to take your Idahos and scrub them off real good, put them in the oven, let them bake. They can be doing stuff while you're getting the rest of the meal together. Then all you do is open them, pour them in your mixing bowl, add a little bit of your milk and butter, buttermilk, whatever you're going to add, and you're ready to go, and you don't have a whole lot of mess. Okay, you don't have to worry about overcooking them, because a baked potato, normally we can monitor those fairly well. So that's a good way of making a mashed baked potato. Okay, back to our sheet pan supper. So we're going to put all this stuff after we get it sliced, diced, and the meat you're going to want to cut a little on the thinner side if it's steak. If it's chicken or pork, please have a thermometer. I left mine at work. But invest in a nice digital thermometer for the kitchen. It'll be the best thing you ever did. Do you ever make raised dough and it says, have your water or your milk between 110 and 120, and you're there sticking your finger in, and then you put it on your wrist, and it's like, yeah, I think it's okay. And then what happens sometimes? Sometimes you end up having it too hot or too cold. The yeast either dies or the yeast doesn't bloom at all. So you want to make sure that you have a thermometer. It's great because that way you'll never eat chicken that's not done to the right temperature, or pork or beef, okay? All right, we have all of that on our pan, and we need just a little bit of olive oil. If it's going to be a full sheet pan, I'm going to use, but you don't want to cram it too full because you want to be able to let the heat get to it and cook. What you want to do is you want to take that, no more than a tablespoon of olive oil, and toss your veggies with it. And then you need some seasoning. And get what you like. You know, I have recipes in here for you that are sheet pan suppers. They may use things you don't like. So get something you like. If you're doing shrimp or you're doing fish, you might want to do lemon pepper. If you're doing chicken, you might want to do something on a fajita side. You can do any of that. Use your imagination. And one thing about this, you can prep some of this stuff ahead of time the night before. Have it in the bag when you get home from work. And let's face it, we're all tired when we get home from work. And what else are we when we get home from work? Hungry, absolutely. And we'll eat that stale donut that's been there since Sunday, hard as a rock, but you'll dunk it because I'm hungry and I want something to eat. That's when you need to reach for a yogurt. I'm digressing. But anyway, so use whatever seasonings you like. I just got these on sale. They were Weber. I have a Weber grill. Okay, put it in, follow the directions on the recipes I gave you, and you'll have supper in no time. If your kids are old enough, they can help you. If they're not, then let them watch while you get things together. That's how we teach cooking to the young folks. What do you need in the kitchen? You need one really good knife. You need a paring knife and a peeler. You know, sometimes you go to these places or you look at things and they've got a myriad of gadgets. The less cleaning, the better. The big thing right now is to make what they call zoodles. And all it is using some type of device that you're going to put this is a cucumber, because Market Basket did not have any squash today. And it's like, the only thing they had was spaghetti squash. I thought, I'm never going to get that in here. But anyways, what's a zoodle? A zoodle is when you take, and this isn't going to work very well, but you take and you put it through a little machine, or a little handheld thing, and it comes out in strips. Now, you can take that and you can stir fry it quickly. You can take it and you can mix it with pasta. Now, if you don't want your kids to know you've got squash in there, get rid of the peel. But if you're not worried about that, you can mix your spaghetti with the same amount of your squash zoodles. And now you have increased the volume, and you're not getting quite as much of the carb that you thought you were. And it gives it a little bit of extra flavor. Also, too, like with a cucumber or with any of the other hard vegetables, you can do carrots, but the harder they are, the harder it is to work with. But you can take them, you can make the zoodle out of it, and you can make a nice salad. Think, how many people are having a Memorial Day thing? Impress your family. Impress the people that are coming. Do something cool. Even if you do one carrot or one zucchini and just make some cute little strands, they're going to think, wow, she really went out of her way. Okay, second point. I got this because why? It's easy to clean. There are some that there's 3 of them, small, medium, and large, all that. And I look, for me, it's how easy is this going to be to clean? Because number one, nothing with a blade should ever go into your dishwasher, because a dishwasher dulls the blades on knives, on things like this. So hot water in a sink and wash it. And when you go to your dentist for your 6-month cleaning, don't they always offer you a toothbrush? Mine does. I always take it, even though I use an electric one. But I take the toothbrush. Why? Because it's great for cleaning this thing. Just get in there and scrub a dub-dub and you're ready to go. But anyway, something like this is really cool to have because it'll make something special for you at home. Okay, there's a lot of recipes for sheet pan suppers. If you're big on going to the internet, you can go on there. If you're somebody like me who likes something hands-on that I like to read, something like Woman's World, we'll have it in, the Tribune Review, you know, different newspapers, different magazines. So don't be afraid to try it. One of the things about food is experimenting with it. What do you do with it? What can I do with this? How can I make it taste better? A lot of us fall into a rut where it's the same old every day. You know, okay, I had meatloaf, now I'm going to have sloppy joe, now I'm going to have stuffed peppers. And what's wrong with that picture? It's all ground beef. So why not do chicken, beef, fish? You know, vary it. Now, veal has become very expensive, so that's something you could do on occasion, maybe when you're having fancy company, but it's not something you're going to do on an everyday basis. Turkey are probably two of your best and cheapest meats, and I know there's been talk about the thigh meat and the back meat and the leg meat because of it being darker, having more fat, having more cholesterol. They're now doing more research on that, finding that the cholesterol that is in that part of the meat is not quite as readily absorbed. So until that research has finally come through, just stay tuned. We'll let you know as it does, okay? I didn't mention whole grains when it came to this because you can use potatoes on here. But if you're not a potato eater, then make it with all your veggies and your meat, and then use quinoa. Use, a whole grain spaghetti. Use a whole grain macaroni product. There are so many things out there, farro, things that you've probably maybe never heard of or never tried. Give it a whirl. How about lentils? How many people have ever eaten lentils? Okay, now's the time to try. And nothing like a good pot of lentil soup, right? Have anybody ever had lentil soup? What about black beans? You could serve a side of black beans. A little bit of chopped onion, a little bit of chopped tomato in those black beans after you drain them. Add just a tad of Italian dressing. And when I say a tad, I mean a tad, just a little bit, just to kick up the flavor of it. And you have a nice side dish, but it can also count as part of your starch. And it's great because it's high in fiber, high in protein, just great. Then to nibble on. What do we nibble on? I always encourage folks to nibble on a whole grain cereal. One of my favorite things that when I started as a dietitian was I came up with a trail mix recipe. It's primarily all whole grains. Added a little bit of raisins, add a little bit of nuts, and then you have a nice treat. But there's something you can do that's quick and easy, but it does take you a little bit of time, 25 minutes in the oven. And those are roasted chickpeas. Chickpeas are great. They have a lot of fiber. They've got a lot of protein. They're also a carbohydrate. But when we roast them, we get them kind of crunchy. So you can take like 4 cups of chickpeas or 2 cups, however many, depending on how many folks are in your family. I just use the one in a can. I drain them. I dry them off on a paper towel. Put just a little bit, normally I measure 1 teaspoon for the 4 cups of olive oil, and then some seasoning. So what kind of seasoning do you like? Do you like a taco flavor? Do you like a pepper flavor? Whatever. And put them on a sheet pan, put them in the oven, 400, and then every 5 minutes you want to toss those around in there. Now don't toss them too much because you'll end up knocking them off the pan, but gently toss them in that pan. And then you have these nice little crunchy treats. And they're really good because they're really healthful. A lot of fiber, and in the beginning, you're going to say, I get gas. Okay, what does that tell you? Well, your body is producing gas because it's not used to all that fiber that you have. So let that, work it out. I mean, there are times you might have to run away from the people you're talking to, but just excuse yourself. It's a natural thing that happens with our bodies. But after a while, when our body gets used to the fiber that we're taking in, then we're able to live with it all the time, and there's no problem. Does anybody get gas? Nobody wants to tell you. I do. So I have to be careful. But things like this, and they sell these in the cafeteria, these little cup things, and they're great to carry in the car. Do you ever get hungry in the car? I do all the time, especially when I'm on the road. So you have something quick that you can grab. Okay, where are we at? I'm almost out of time. Okay. I think I've hit most of my things. Oh, one thing I did wanted to say, and you'll hear it a lot, it's called mise en place. It means get everything in order. It's a French term for organizing all your foodstuffs. So before you're going to do anything, get it all out. Get it together, peel it, slice it, dice it, have it all lined up, and then you're ready to go. It's so much easier when you have everything in order. And years ago when I took a French cooking course, that was one of the first things I learned in here. That and what's the chef's white hat called? A toque. And they always had a tip of the toque for that week's thing, and it was always some little thing that they told you that really helped you with what you were doing with food. So please make sure you have all your stuff organized, clean your area, that's another thing. Doesn't matter if you're using umpteen bowls or dishes if you want. It's a great way of cleaning out your cupboard. Put those all in the dishwasher, wipe out that cupboard. When that dishwasher's done and those bowls are clean, you stack them all back and it's like, hey, this is good. I did housekeeping in my cupboard above the stove. But anyways, you don't always have to dirty a whole lot. Another way of doing things is to slip things in baggies. That can get a little expensive though, but you can toss things in a baggie. If you're making salad, like if you're gonna have something like this for Memorial Day and you're making salad for a whole group, you get those big baggies and you put all your salad stuff in, put your 1/4 cup of dressing in, toss it around, put it back in the fridge. When you're ready to go, everything will be nicely flavored. You can also do the sheet pan ideas just for vegetables if you want. And then you can have some nice roasted vegetables. That's become another big thing that they're doing in the world of cooking. Okay, I think I've talked enough. How about questions? Anybody have a question?
Oh, the chickpeas.
What's that, dear?
How long in the oven for the chickpeas?
25 minutes. Yeah, 25 minutes. And they're really good. I don't know how many people, Barb, you probably had a lot of chickpeas with Warnish, right? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else has a question? All right, just think you got 50 points for just letting me talk to you and giving you a handout. Please.
Do you have those sheet pan recipes?
They're in, they should be in, yeah, in your packet. If you have any questions, need anything, my number is at Conemaugh, 534-9457. And my email there is fm, last name Lechak, Lechak, @conemaugh.org. And if you're not sure, just ask for the food lady. Hopefully they'll send you to me. It's fun and it's a good way of using it. Well, I thank you very much for your kind attention.